Hi, welcome to Tuesday's Tips with Homegrown Agents, HGA. I'm Shonda.
I'm Wendy.
And this is Melissa Fredrickson again from our ERA Brokers office. And we've been talking to Melissa about property management. And we're going to go ahead and continue that today. And Wendy is going to start us off.
So what strategies do you use for marketing and leasing properties?
Yeah, great question. So just like when you are defining what your home price is when you're going to sell a home, usually there's kind of a range that we want to play with the market. We look at what's available already for rent in that kind of space of cost. But then after we've determined a price moving forward, ERA Brokers Consolidated has a really great marketing program wrapped into ARTI, and they tap into thousands of websites across the nation, and we utilize that with ERA Property Management as well as some other local things. Zillow sometimes we'll put one on there, Facebook Marketplace, different things like that. And then oftentimes from there, when people call to set up appointments, we'll try to do some sort of an open house and allow lots of people to come through at once. I usually found that works really great because people are coming through, excuse me, and they're seeing other people are also looking at the home, just like we do with regular real estate. And that kind of helps them decide we need to get our application in if we really like this.
Now, let's say you get somebody who wants to rent your home and everything gets under contract. How do you communicate with the property owners and the renters? What does that look like?
Yeah, great. So every person has a different style that they like to communicate. Some people will do it strictly by phone or text or email. Like we talked about before with the time zone on the other side of the world, that was the best way to do it. I send an email, they'd respond at 2 o'clock in the morning my time, but 7 or 8 on their time. So it just depends on person to person. We do use a program called Appfolio, and that helps track all the text messaging, and we can put in notes and things like that there so that if there's another property management manager also looking at the file, they can see what's been communicated already.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how long should I enter if I'm the owner, right? How long what kind of a time frame should I be looking at to have tenants on? Month?
Yeah,
Month,
so it depends on you and your property and kind of what you're looking for.
Okay.
I usually would recommend between 6 months to a year. Some people will try and go a little longer. They'll say, I'm really comfortable with this price for rent and I want to keep that tenant in there for 2 or 3 years. And it's really hard to say what that market's going to do, what might happen to the owner's life, and that they might need to sell the property, or what might even happen in the tenant's life, and they might need to get out of the contract. So I generally recommend just that 6 months to a year, so that if there are changes for whatever reason with the contract, we can make those changes at the end of the contract and get into a new one.
Oh, good idea.
Can you make a stipulation in there if we do a 6-month rental and at the end of 6 months everything looks good, we can do it for a year or?
Yeah, if both people are in agreement to that, yeah, you definitely can.
So you can totally work on that as a need basis.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And as a property manager, how often, when we talked earlier in the other video that keeping in communication like with pets and stuff like that, how often are we on site with property? I mean, be able to see what's going on with that renter, I guess.
Yeah, and that's where you'll want to keep in touch with your property manager and see what they're willing to do. I know it kind of depends on how far away the properties are for the property manager. The great thing about ERA Property Management is they do have digital inspections. So you send a link to the tenant and then they can go through each room and take pictures, multiple or just one, and you can kind of see what things look like digitally. If you're not happy with the one picture in the room, you can ask them to take other angles so you can really get a good feel for things if they're not able to be there in person.
Okay.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Me neither.
Who knew? Just take some photos.
The digital age.
And so they know that going into the contract that they're going to be asked occasionally to take photos and be able to do that.
Yeah, it's written in the tenant lease. So
very cool.
Interesting.
Okay. How long does it typically take once a buyer or a homeowner decides that they want to rent a property from start to finish, what does that timeline look like?
Yeah, and it depends on how ready the property is. Sometimes they just want to get an idea if the property, is going to rent for a price that will work for them. So that might take a couple weeks to walk through and decide. Sometimes they'll come to me and they'll say, yep, that price sounds great. Let's get it done, and we'll put it under a property management agreement, and we'll start advertising pretty quickly. We do use professional photos. We talk about with our regular real estate that a lot of the looking begins online. So we want to make sure that those pictures look really great right from the get-go. And then, like I mentioned before, we'll do the open house. We'll try and get people in for an appointment and see the property. If they like it from there, at the end of the appointment, then I'll hand them the application link, and they can go online and get their applications turned in. We're really quick about getting a turnaround of looking at the background check, the credit check, and then I always like to touch base with their past property managers or their past landlords to see what their rental history was. If everything looks good there, usually it's 2 to 3 days to get them approved. This is the part that kind of trips people up. Everyone thinks if that went so quickly and so smoothly, they'll be in by next week, right? And the trick is like I mentioned, we want to get a good tenant. You don't want a tenant who will find a new place and vacate yours within a week. We want to have notice of that. So typically in our leases, then it says that there needs to be a 30-day notice given to property management before the tenant vacates. So if this tenant finds a new property, then they most likely, if they're a good tenant, they're going to want to give notice to their current landlord or property manager, give that 30-day notice. That's usually how we know we found a good tenant. If they say, I want to give notice to my property manager, it's going to be 30 days. We'll have a conversation with the owner, see if they're willing to hold out for that 30 days, and then kind of go from there. But usually you should expect it's going to be about 30 to 45 days, depending on what that rental market is.
So thanks for that advice. We will be back next week with Melissa for more Tuesday tips. Have a great day.
Bye.